Wake up. Friday, July 19th. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Always good to be with you. Thanks for being with us. These are the dark days. These are the slow days. But we're so close. So freaking close, Larry, to football season. You can see it. You can smell it. It's around the corner, man.
No question. And we'll be here before you know it. And it's going to be an exciting year. It really is. And you know, obviously there's a lot going on with Brandon Aiyuk and what's going to happen with him. And you know, I'll say this. I mean, once Aiyuk demanded a trade officially, and once the 49ers said, we're not trading you, suddenly things got really, really interesting, you know, and now it's going to be who's going to blink first. Is Brandon going to hold out? If he holds out, is there a point where he holds out where the 49ers said that's enough and they trade him? Or do they, you know, let him hold out? And does he, you know, drive this thing into the regular season? And what kind of impact does it have? And just kind of makes you wonder what kind of year this is going to be for the 49ers. They're favored in Vegas to win the Super Bowl. And yet, you know, if Brandon Aiyuk doesn't show up, I don't think they're Super Bowl caliber team, really.
Larry, it's a game of chicken, and as Marshawn Lynch wisely told everyone years ago, mind your chicken. Keep an eye on your chicken. So this is our game of chicken, and yeah, there is no doubt it's the rocky pathway instead of the smooth road leading into a year with massive expectations, and it also stinks that right now Ricky Pearsall is unable to go out there. I mean, they're not putting him on the injured list, physically.
He's on the NFI list, so he's
right. So non-football injury. I mean,
that means he can come off at any point.
Practice. Right. He hurt himself outside of football practice, and he could come off at any point. But I don't think that they would put him on it if he were going to be missing, you know, training camp actually hitting the field. I'm guessing Wednesday next week. I don't know if they're going to be out there practicing on Tuesday, which is the day all veterans are supposed to report. But it's a shame that Ricky Pearsall is now a part of the conversation of the didn't expect it, rockier than expected start to this season. And, you know, what the Niners were trying to avoid, unfortunately, they've run right into it anyway. And, you know, the second guessing, there's plenty of it to go around, little blame to go around on both sides. I know Emmanuel Acho is saying that Brandon Aiyuk should get everything coming to him. We'll get into that. But I thought we would start today, Larry, with something other than Brandon Aiyuk, just because we've started every show for the last 2 months with this same conversation that never ends. We have some uniforms to talk about. Ooh, everyone loves uniforms, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all kind of rooting for laundry. These team uniforms are sacred. Who is wearing what and when is what people really care about. Now, we're not going to do like some other pages where they're like, week 1, they're wearing their home red uniforms and their home gold pants. And then again, in another home game, they're wearing their home red uniform. Yeah, of course they're wearing their red uniforms at home. They mostly do. Here's how it goes. The home uniforms, Larry, for all home games except Dallas and Detroit are your classic red and gold home uniforms, one of the great uniforms in the world. 49ers got beautiful uniforms. Dallas and Detroit are getting the white pants treatment and the shadow box treatment. The red jerseys with the black shadow box on the letters and the white pants, which is also clean as hell. I really like that look too. All away games, except for at SoFi, where they're going to be wearing their red uniforms. I guess they're going to be wearing their home uniforms with white pants in Tampa too, because Tampa always likes you to wear your the hotter uniform in Tampa for the psychological edge the Buccaneers love to enjoy. They're wearing all white uniforms in Seattle. The only time they will be in cocaine head to toe white is up in Seattle this year, which I think is just one of the most gorgeous uniforms there is. I love the totally clean, all white Niner uniform. Like, I would almost make that the primary road uniform if it were my franchise. but white on gold looks great too. I love the all whites. I'm a Penn State guy, in terms of that's a gorgeous uniform. So, but there you go, Larry. Uniform knowledge conveyed to the masses. I'm sure you're celebrating this at home.
I kind of like the all whites that they're going to put. They keep running those out in the divisional matchup against Seattle. In Seattle wears the all neon yellow or whatever they wear, but
looks like a highlighter exploded in their pocket.
Yeah, I mean that, and they're they won't get hit by a car. I mean, that's for sure. But
yeah, it's funny, man. Jillian wore this orange blazer the other day to work, and I picked her up at the BART station. And normally when I swing around to pick her up, I got to look for her. She jumped out like a hunter in the woods wearing all orange. I'm like, this is why hunters wear orange. She was easy to spot.
Yeah. But the whites are really clean. I mean, we're talking about the 94 throwbacks. Yeah. And they wear the 94 throwbacks that they won the Super Bowl in. And that red jersey with the white pants is very, very, very good look as well. But the all whites are really clean. And I think it was Brock Purdy that told me last year that the all whites are his favorite. But dude, you know what? It is a clean look because you have the colored helmet, and then you have the white pants and the white jerseys, and it's unique. Now, I kind of liked when they went with the all black a few years ago, but the numbers were screwed up because they didn't outline the numbers, so you couldn't really see the numbers.
Yeah, if they had put some white piping around the numbers, or because they tried to, I think they used red piping, and then the red piping on the all black jersey just got lost. I did not like that look. To me, the 49ers have one of the great color schemes of all time, and to just say, we're going like all black and trying to be the Baltimore Ravens for the day, it's like, I do not like that look on the Niners. I think they should embrace they have one of the best helmets in the world. Their helmet,
if UCLA can go all black, the Niners can go all black. If Duke can go all black, the Niners can go all black. I mean, it's just, everybody's got the all black jerseys at this point in some form or fashion. I just think it's a good look.
You like it?
Well, I think it's a chic look. It's obviously different. It's an alternative. I mean, I wouldn't go with it as the full-time look. And I didn't like the way you couldn't see the numbers. So that to me is, you got to be able to see the numbers. That was kind of a major negative, but I thought you look fast in all black. You look lean.
Robin DeBay calls it the goth Niners, the emo look.
I think the all white look is tight though. That is a good look. I mean, the
reason why I've always loved the all whites is because, look, I grew up in upstate New York, which means the closest major college football program to me was basically, with all due respect to Syracuse, it was Penn State. I grew up around an awful lot of Penn State. And this is before Joe Paterno's name was forever sullied and ruined by the Jerry Sandusky scandal. And I had like two teachers would literally spend half the class recapping what happened in Penn State football and then get to the actual topic of the class. I grew up around Penn State obsessed, and I always loved how clean that all white Penn State jersey and pants looked, and with the black cleats, and it was just white on white with a white helmet, just one blue stripe. And this teacher that I used to have, he's like, this is what's special about that uniform. It makes no statement other than, we're here to kick your ass today. We're not here to look pretty. We're not here to win a fashion show. We're not here to look cool or hip or trendy. We are here to beat you with college football history. And it stayed with me. Someone tells you something when you're a kid, it stays with you. That always stayed with me. We're just wearing all whites, and we're just here to kick your ass. And that's what that all white uniform always kind of meant to me. Now, some people would just be like, you're old man. That's fuddy-duddy stuff. I hear you. Different flavors for different folks. I still like old man ice cream flavors. I like pistachio. I like rum raisin. I like all white football uniforms, Larry, and I don't apologize.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole Penn State and the tradition. I mean, it all kind of got washed away once Sandusky started, gang raping people, and Paterno looked the other way. I mean,
Not
it's
just people, Larry, kids.
Yeah, well, but the kids are people too. But I'm just saying, Penn State lost an awful lot there.
I still like the uniforms. Look at it this way. I still like the uniforms.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened. I still love those unis.
It is a good look. It is a good look. And they also have that simple helmet with a simple blue stripe, which is also, kind of cool. But I kind of, to me, the 49ers have had some of the best uniforms in the history of the NFL. I do think it's interesting that the NFL, what makes the NFL is the fact they don't change the uniforms. They don't change the helmets. I'm watching an old film right now of Joe Theismann playing in the Super Bowl against the Dolphins. And obviously the Redskins are no longer the Redskins, but I mean, they've kept the same color scheme. They look the same. The Dolphins pretty much look the same. It's a big part of the success of the league is that they don't change the colors in the uniforms. I mean, what's the most popular team in baseball? The Yankees. The Yankees have one uniform. They have a home uniform. They have a road uniform.
One of the best Yankee sayings is 27 titles, 2 uniforms.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for that, but I mean, we're in this era now of merchandising and, you present a brand new uniform, you got a whole new uniform that you can sell. And heck, I see people all the time. I mean, there's a lady at church that wears a different Warrior jersey to mass every Sunday. And I'm like, wow, some people might view it as a little disrespectful, but you know what? We know where you worship. You're a true Warrior fan, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, uniforms are, I think, kind of an underrated aspect of why a team is popular. I think what's one of the main problems with the NFL secondary leagues is that they've never worn the right uniforms. They always wear these, the Boston Breakers or the blah, 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 the Oakland Invaders. And it's like, dude,
right, look like something
nobody cares about that.
My team account on, Madden. They look like a whole bunch of Arena League teams, just generic logo after generic, unidentifiable logo. And look,
it's like your fantasy logo before you switch it to what you want it to be.
Right. The power of the uniform is as strong as this, Larry. There is not a single fan in America who roots for a team that wears a uniform that they hate. Right now, your team.
I'm sure there has to be some Astro fan somewhere
you don't like, but no, you can't like the team without also liking the uniform in some way.
As I said, I mean, those Astros uniforms were heinous.
Those things were heinous. The Astros uniforms were heinous, but I would much rather see those than the modern new ones that they have. And it's like all fashion. It's like bell bottoms and afros, man. That shit comes back in fashion. And
we talked about this the other day, but the All-Star uniforms is where they really missed out because it's we don't know who's on each team. And then if guys switch teams, seriously, the Cubs have this young star pitcher from Japan named Shota Imanaga. He's had a great first half.
Giants
there's not a person in baseball. There's not a baseball fan anywhere that knows jack about Shota Imanaga. But you know what? He's a Cub, and it's like, let's put him out there in the uniform, and it'll be cool. No, he's got to wear a drab brown uniform and with a Cub, moniker on the sleeve. Well, give him a Cub hat. No, we can't do that. He's got to wear a drab brown orange. It's like baseball. What can you say? I mean, it's just ridiculously idiotic.
You had beautiful kind of drab brown. Like, I love old Padres uniforms. Give me the old Padres uniforms, not the new ones. Not when they tried to embrace that like gray and aqua blue thing that they didn't even look like the San Diego Padres anymore.
The game is being played in a venue. If you're going to have them wear a uniform that's not their venue, why not just have everybody wear the home Rangers versus the road Rangers? I mean, at least it's consistent with where the game is. as opposed to just home, no uniform, road, no uniform. But I mean, it's the whole thing. Wear their hats, wear their uniforms.
That couldn't work. Let's say the next All-Star game is in St. Louis. You're going to put a Cub in a St. Louis Cardinals jersey? There's no way. No,
I'd rather have. All I'm saying is, I'd rather have somebody in an actual jersey than no jersey at all. Just
whatever the hell that was, the
All-Star thing, and it's like they don't even wear in the NFL. They don't. When they did have the Pro Bowl, they didn't have them wearing phantom helmets. Why? Because you wanted to be able to identify the players, and that's the same kind of thing. The baseball player today without a helmet is only slightly more recognizable, if that, than the NFL player with a helmet. You know what I'm saying? It's like harder I could identify NFL players with the helmet easier than I could with baseball players without a helmet.
Oh, so it's so funny. I remember this happening at the Barry Zito introductory press conference when he signed with the Giants. I go to that press conference, and up on stage, look, there's Brian Sabian, there's Larry Baer, there's Bruce Bochy, there's this other guy. I think that's Ned Coletti. And, I'm like, who's this other guy? The other guy was Barry Zito, but I didn't even really recognize him until he put on the Giants hat. And then he had the frame of his eyes under a baseball cap. And it was just like, oh, there's Barry Zito. I recognize him as soon as he put the hat on. And it's just so funny. This is like, baseball's the most recognizable sport there is. And yet baseball does such a bad job marketing their players. We don't see it. Well, I guess basketball would be you're most naked in the sport of basketball than any other sport. You're wearing just a jersey and shorts. So we can see who you are. In football, we can't even see who you are. We don't know who's under that helmet. We don't know who's in those pads. That's why the uniforms are so important, because the players come and go rapidly. But those
just that we think baseball is, the American pastime, and we think we recognize these players, but in reality we don't. I'm going to give you the National League. I'm going to give you the National League team, and tell me if you actually recognize these guys.
The National League All-Star team. Let me hear it.
Ketel Marte.
Love him.
Would you recognize him? Ryan McMahon. Would you recognize him?
Never.
Shohei Ohtani, you would recognize. There's one.
On the street wearing a t-shirt.
Marcel Ozuna, would you recognize him?
I don't think so.
Trey Turner, would you recognize him?
I might recognize Trey Turner.
I don't think I would. CJ Abrams, would you recognize CJ Abrams?
No. I wouldn't recognize Trey Turner unless he was sliding. If he's doing that really cool pop-up slide, then
I would definitely not recognize Turner. I'd recognize Bryce Harper.
Yes.
I'd recognize Elliot Ramos.
Only because I see him 4 times a night.
Right. Wilson Contreras. I would not recognize him.
Maybe.
Will Smith. I don't think I would recognize Will Smith.
No.
I mean, I might, but the average person absolutely would not.
Right.
Christian Yelich. No
way.
Freddie Freeman.
Yes, I would recognize Freddie Freeman.
I'd recognize Freddie Freeman. Pete Alonso. I think I would recognize.
Here's the two. Honestly, no, you would walk past that dude in the subway without wearing a Mets jersey. You'd walk right past him.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, just looks like a blonde, balding guy. Alex Boehm, no. Dela Cruz from the Reds, yes, I would recognize him.
Doesn't Boehm have the big hairdo though? He got a long hair.
Yeah. I mean, he's recognizable in Philly, but I don't know if he's recognizable. Teoscar Hernandez, no. Ellie De La Cruz, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Jackson Merrill, no.
No.
Jackson Profar, no.
No.
Brian Reynolds, no. And then pitching wise, Skeens, you've seen him a lot recently, but I don't think I would recognize him.
Look at it this way: if he ever shaved that mustache, no chance.
Yeah, Max Fried, no. Logan Webb, yes, because we know him. He's on our team. Shota Imanaga, no.
Not
Hunter Green, no. Sanchez, Lopez, Suarez, Strom, Scott, Hoffman, no.
All right, you know what?
So basically, we just went through. We have Logan Webb, This is who our total recognition of the National League All-Star team is. Logan, and we're sports talk show host. Logan Webb, Ellie Dela Cruz. I'm going Pete Alonso, Elliot Ramos, Bryce Harper, Shohei Ohtani. There's 6 guys
out of 35, whatever,
out of 30 or whatever.
Yeah,
6 guys on the National League team that I recognize, and I'm looking at the American League team. I probably only recognize Judge and Soto.
Yeah, we're not doing this again.
We won't do the whole thing, but maybe Vladdy Guerrero too. Judge, Soto, Vladdy Guerrero. No pitchers, none, not one pitcher. So I mean, we're talking about an all-star game where we had right around 10 recognizable people to us and our world of sports. So, I mean, come on, man.
Well, look, and we probably would spend a lot more time recognizing football players, even though they're in a helmeted sport, just because this sport is so much more in front of us. You know, everyone, I think, in America would recognize, like, the single most recognizable player in football, thanks to his girlfriend right now, is probably Travis Kelce. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
There are more teenage girls who would be like, that's Travis Kelce, than there would be teenage boys saying, oh, that's definitely Aaron Rodgers, right?
I would say every NFL team has 3 or 4 recognizable guys on it.
The single with
at least
recognizable San Francisco 49ers, George Kittle.
You know, Brock Purdy,
but
Debo.
It's George Kittle number 1 with a bullet. George Kittle is the most, I think.
I don't know. Hafonga's pretty recognizable now too with the hair. Fred Warner's been around a long time. I mean, there's guys that have name recognition, but yeah, there's hardly any. There's hardly any players, but I would say still it's more than baseball. I would say every team's got 3 or 4 guys, and it's usually the quarterback, oftentimes the backup quarterback, and usually 1 or 2 other stars. And that's about it. As far as
there's all you need to know about how unrecognizable baseball is, and the uniform schedule is officially out. You know, it's funny. The schedule comes out, and we make such a big deal out of it for like a day or two, and then we never talk about it again. The uniform schedule coming out, Larry, made me take a look again, just kind of at the 49ers schedule. It's a fucking monster. It is, man. They basically need to come out and start 3-1, 4-0, because after that, the price of poker goes through the roof, man. It really does. Between weeks 6 through 15, there is no rest for the weary, but for a bye week. Week 6,
they get the Bears 15, in there.
It's a but the Bears. Who knows what the Bears are?
No, come on,
hey. The Chicago Bears spent the end of last football season kicking a lot of ass on their way out the door of a bad year that gave them the number 1 pick, right? You know, so they were pretty good. Everything about the Chicago Bears is officially ticking up. The team that they are week 1 this year and the team that they might be in week 14 means that that's no easy scratch game. And remember, the Chicago Bears, I believe, are undefeated at Levi Stadium. Have they been back since they won the first ever game there? Maybe, I don't know if they're undefeated.
No. They didn't win the first ever game there. No, because that was Kaepernick destroyed them on Monday Night Football. Remember, he had like 5 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, but that was a candlestick. I'm talking Levi Stadium.
Oh, at Levi's, the first game at Levi's. God, I can't even picture what that would have been.
The Chicago Bears won the first official game ever at Levi Stadium. Bear down, Chicago.
It was the actual first game ever. It was week 1.
Yeah. The first game that mattered, not preseason bullshit. First game ever at Levi's was against the Bears. Bears won.
Well, to me, that's the soft spot on the schedule. But it could be a trap game. It could be an absolute trap game. I personally think that the Niners need to bank some wins early, because it gets, you know, you get the Jets, the Vikings, Patriots, Cardinals all before. Right. You know, in the first 5 weeks.
So, you know, the Cardinals I'm going to leave them out of the gauntlet just because they're not very good. But the Cardinals, God bless them, they always figure out a way to ball their fist and throw a pretty damn good punch at the 49ers. They do. It's division rival. But then it's really, I mean, you want to talk about this ain't easy. At Seattle, home to Kansas City, home to Dallas. That's as tough as a 3-game stretch as you'll find in this league. At Seattle, Kansas City, Dallas, bye week. At Tampa, Seattle again. At Green Bay, at Buffalo, Chicago. Again, Chicago by itself, no big deal. Chicago after at Green Bay, at Buffalo is an awful lot, I think, to handle. And then you got the Los Angeles Rams. Then you go at Miami. I took away the Miami game from the gauntlet and probably shouldn't because Miami's been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. And then after that, you got Detroit. I mean, it's just a freaking monster of a schedule. I don't care about what uniform they're wearing for which game. This is a brutal schedule. It really is.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it a brutal schedule, but I think it's challenging. The only thing is you don't know what that Detroit game's going to be. That Detroit game could be, right. It could be just
take on 2 very different flavors.
I mean, it could be totally different. The Bears, it could be a trap game. I mean, that's the thing. There's the schedule thing that's so ridiculous is like, well, you're going to win here, you're going to lose here, you're going to win here. Just because that's just not the way this thing works. I mean, to me, all I would say to anybody who bets the NFL is absolutely do not consider betting the NFL, even with a small amount of money, without researching the rest advantage, disadvantage factor of the game. To me, that is the ultimate factor in the NFL that determines the outcome that nobody really ever talks about. We saw it last year. The Niners had a huge rest disadvantage against Cincinnati. They got their doors blown off by Cincinnati. There are just some games that are scheduled losses and some games that are scheduled wins. And if you as a gambler recognize which are which, you're going to have a much better gambling track record because most people, they put everything. I mean, think about it. They put this, they have an NFL scoreboard. They put, basically everything on it, right? You've got the teams, both teams, who's the home team, who's the road team, what time they're playing. They now give you the name of the stadium, the city, how you can buy tickets, the point spread, the over under. I mean, they give you an awful lot of information, but they don't give you. It's not, you can go find it, but they don't readily make it easy for you to know which team, Ravens play the Chiefs September 5th, Thursday, September 5th. Which team, one team could be, it's week 1, so it's not the case, but let's say this is week 15 or something. One team could be, 6 days and they didn't travel, and the other team could, have had 2 weeks off, but they traveled across the world. I mean, it's just like, these teams, they don't play identical schedules, and it doesn't all come out in the wash. And all I would say to anybody is just know your rest advantage, disadvantage before you wager. And I think if you do, you're going to make more money. I guarantee you're going to make more money.
What you need to know is that the 49ers have the worst rest disadvantage in the NFL when you add all of it up together, correct?
Yes. And also they're minus 21 on their opponents, 21 games, but they also have 8 games.
Minus 21 days, you mean? Minus 21 days.
But there's 8 games where the 49ers have less rest than their opponent.
It's a lot.
Which is not only is it a lot, it's the most in the NFL in like the last six or 7 years. So if you're good, all I would say is if you're going to look at the season total for the Niners, first of all, really, really consider going with the under. But there are several factors that favor the under, and people like to bet overs. They like to bet overs in the game. They like to bet overs on the season total.
Larry, I feel like you're slipping out of frame. There you go. There he is. I couldn't see your eye or your ear on one side of your head there. Yeah, get your beautiful haircut back in the frame. Thank you very, very much.
But I mean, the rest advantage or disadvantage is absolutely a huge factor.
It sure is.
Nobody talks about it. Warren Sharp started writing an article about it. I read the article last year and I was like, I can't believe that I have not been looking at this factor every game, because it is more times than not. If you see a spread that you're like, that spread seems wrong, I guarantee you that the team that's favored in that game where the spread seems wrong has a rest advantage factor. Guaranteed.
We will be monitoring it all season long, so you don't have to. That's why you need to watch Wake Up, like, and subscribe to both channels. This is a growing media empire that we're sitting on here, Larry. So Wake Up is officially coming for everyone. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We can't wait for football to get here. I'll tell you, proof that football is close, Larry. I know that I'm not doing a show at 11 today on my channel because it is Take Your Kids to Work Day at Salesforce with Jillian, and that's like one of the coolest places to take kids. You go up to that observation deck and that skyscraper. It's like you're in a freaking airplane, like the way you see the city. And then we're going to Aiyuk's. The grand opening of his Mission Rock, brand new in the Visa Building restaurant down by the ballpark. It's his 100th restaurant. 7 states, 100 restaurants for my boy Aiyuk. Guess who was there at the VIP soft open last night, who I bumped into?
Who's that?
You know football season is around the corner when you bump into the Cobra. Matt Mayoko was sitting at Aiyuk's having a sandwich last night. He's on the VIP guest list. So talk to Matt Mayoko. He's back from vacation. He's starting ready to batten down the hatches for another coming football season. Talk to him about training camp next week. He said that he thinks media will be allowed to start coming to practice on Thursday. Was that the day that you've heard too? Thursday.
What's the date of that? Do you know? What's
Thursday's date?
Yeah, what is today? It would be 6 days. It would be the 25th.
25th.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Email to the Niners and get credentialed. Damon Bruce Plus, that's the media company. They recognized it. It's amazing. This is actually happening. So here we go. Anyways, it is great to have you here. Please hit like and subscribe. We got a short one for you today. I know you're doing something with Chase Sr. Man, let me tell you, Larry, since you've introduced me to Chase Sr., I really like him. I like his content, man. He's good.
Yeah, he is. He's good.
He's really good at what he does. So
I mean, he's in Dallas, and he does the same thing for the Eagles. So
yeah, we're not going to hold it against him.
That part we don't like, but no, Chase does a good job. He absolutely does.
So you got something coming up with Chase. I got the boys. I got a grand opening today to go to. It was great seeing Mayoko. He'll be popping by. We got to get Mayoko on Wake Up eventually. That'll be a good show for everyone. The actual schedule, again, the uniform schedule's out. The actual schedule's a monster. We've kind of avoided the Brandon Aiyuk talk this long into the show. Let's just a little bit of it because Emmanuel Acho had something to say about Brandon Aiyuk. David Bonilla on the 49ers web zone said that Acho claimed to have spoken recently with Brandon Aiyuk's agent. And guess which way Brandon Aiyuk is looking at this, or Emmanuel Acho is looking at this after speaking with Brandon Aiyuk's agent. He is favoring the player. He states that the 49ers, and I do agree with this, have grossly underestimated how the wide receiver market would develop this offseason. Acho made it clear that Aiyuk should want to leave the 49ers, sympathizing with the receiver's perspective. He argues that despite telling Aiyuk they can't afford to pay him his asking price, the team just handed out raises to Christian McCaffrey and Jawan Jennings. And so Acho says, hey, they got money. They just don't got money for you. And he goes on a rant about all that. And, you know, he only considered the player's side and zero circumstances around some of the other contracts that have handed out. Like, if you do really want to get into yes, they did give an extension to Christian McCaffrey and Jawan
He's the
Jennings.
best player on the team, you know.
There's that. And both of those extensions actually lowered both players' salary cap number for this year. So, I mean,
and an extension for Aiyuk would do the same.
It would.
It's going to lower his cap figure in 2024, and it'll give them cap room. They'll gain cap room in the present, but they want to roll a lot of it over. But it's just at the end of the day, that's just bookkeeping. You know, it's just like, you know, this column, that column, this and that. Where are you putting your payments, this and that? But in reality, you can only pay so many guys. and you can only pay if you're paying them all at market rate or slightly above if they're free agents. Then that means you got to have guys on your roster that you pay beneath market value. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to have a full roster. So, I mean, this is the situation. And I don't disagree, by the way. I'm not like pro Niners on this. It's not like the Niners are in the right and the players in the wrong.
Right. We're not team homers.
Yeah, but I mean, the people want to blame the Niners. The Niners badly. They knew the market was going up. I mean, it's not complicated. It's like it's really, really, really basic. The market's at one level. A guy who's really good signs his contract. The market now creeps up. So when they saw that Justin Jefferson was sitting there unsigned, they knew the market was creeping up. It wasn't like Parag Marathe is like, what? The market is shooting up. We didn't realize it. But it takes two to tango, and Aiyuk knew that this was his big payday and maintained on his side that they didn't want to sign early, that they wanted to wait until the market clarified itself. And what he really means by that is we are waiting for the market to reset at a higher number so that we can get more money. That's really it. So this whole the Niners misinterpreted. No, they didn't. It's just that you couldn't get Aiyuk to put his name on the dotted line because he knew that if he waited for Jefferson, that would force the Niners or any other team in the NFL to pay more to their receivers, and that's what he's all about. So, I mean, it's not a miscalculation. You might want to say, it's the result of this has been that they're going to pay him more, but it's not like they didn't see it coming. Let's not pretend they're total morons. They didn't see the cap rising. They did. They did see the cap rising. It's just that they had a player who didn't want to play. Didn't want to sign. Didn't want to play games with them.
They might have misjudged the actual top of the number.
I mean,
and if it was for Justin Jefferson, if Justin Jefferson was establishing the market, which he did, like Justin Jefferson signing should have been okay, now we understand the market, so let's get down to brass tacks. And that still hasn't happened in this negotiation.
Understanding the market and participating are different. There's a different thing. You can understand. And I think that's why, I mean, Damon, remember in the Pivot podcast, you heard Brandon Aiyuk tell Ryan Clark, our last Niner meeting, they came to me and said, we're not on the same page and we're not likely to get on the same page. So, they knew what was coming here. Now, the odd thing to me, and you tell me if you think this is odd, and maybe this is just, I've got another buddy who's claims this is what you do. The odd thing to me is that they won't at least acknowledge that there's a possibility that they will trade him. They're like, he wants to be traded and we will not be trading him. And it's like, I don't know that I would be going. My one buddy's like, hey, look, you're going to get more for an asset that you are stated that you don't want to trade than you are in any asset that you state you want to trade. So that makes sense to me. But, sure. But still, Damon, I would think that they would be like, hey, look, our stance is that we don't want to trade Brandon. It's unfortunate he doesn't want to be here. I don't know that I would dig in my heels with he will not be traded, because if he holds out and it's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, are you really holding to that? If somehow some team calls you and says, we'll give you something of significance for Brandon Aiyuk, you're still going to say no as he's not playing for you and you're a month into the season? I don't know.
One of my favorite sayings in sports that just, I'm not saying ignore what's being said in press conferences, but just because they're saying something as they're facing forward to the public doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. And here's the saying that I think you just need to remember at all times.
John Lynch likes Trey Lance. Right. Remember that last year?
So, Larry, this is the saying. Everything is business as usual until it's not. And it's business as usual to say, we're not trading the player. We love Trey Lance. He's developing fantastically. He's the future of our franchise. Jordan Poole is going to be a Warrior for several years, 24 hours before he's traded. So this is this is normal. This is franchise speak. This is GM speak, coach speak. It has to happen. It's diplomacy. But yeah, the 49ers are absolutely up to listening to offers. And according to all precincts reporting that actually matter, not like Slick Ricky from Vegas is saying that Devontae Adams and Brandon. No. That there's nothing to that. That story has no legs. But you do have Mike Silver. You do have a few other NFL legit media people saying that the New England Patriots really are interested in Brandon Aiyuk. Like, they have literally reached out. This is one team everyone is confirming has called the Niners with an interest about Brandon Aiyuk. And there's probably more than just the New England Patriots, but we know about them. That's the one team that we know about.
But while this is going on, John Lynch has remained steadfast that no consideration will be given to a trade in either case, in the case of Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel.
In other words, get your price up. That's what John Lynch is saying. Make a better offer. There's nothing on the table right now that makes me go, huh. If you put something on the table that makes me go, huh, we'll consider it. That is the job. That's what general managers do. These are my guys. You can't come get my guys. I love my guys. And then the right offer shows up for one of your guys, and that guy's not your guy anymore. That's what happens. So
yeah. So I mean, the question is, who's offering? Who's making an offer, and what are they offering? And are the Niners even listening to the offers? Are they shutting them down? I don't know, but I will say this. I mean, I don't look at Aiyuk the same way as some others do. I don't think it's like game over, season over if he is not part of the Niners. I mean, do you want him? Sure. Is he great? Yeah. I mean, is he ideally suited for you as a wide receiver who blocks in the run game? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways he's the perfect Niner wide receiver. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to be there, I mean, there's no law that says that you have to make some horrendous trade, right? And it's like, we traded him to the Commanders for a 4th and a 5th in the next 2 drafts, and nobody's making you do that. And you don't have to play, since the Niners don't have to do anything in the present. The offers have to be a little bit higher to make them intrigued, because they don't have to do anything. They can afford this player. They're inside their Super Bowl window. That's
the player's under contract with 3 more controllable years.
Right. And they're inside their Super Bowl window, and he's one of their best players. But if Washington really wants him, they can make it happen. I mean, they can absolutely make it happen. And if I were the Niners, I'd take Jonathan Allen and Jahan Dotson, who they don't need if they've got Terry McLaurin and Brandon Aiyuk. I would take Jahan Dotson and Jonathan Allen and get down the road. Or if it's New England, New England's an interesting situation, because New England is the one team, Damon. I'm kind of glad you brought up New England, because they are the one team that would get me to break my rule. My rule for trading Aiyuk is I'm not trading Aiyuk for draft picks. I'm just not, because it just doesn't make sense inside your Super Bowl window. But
New England could be top 5.
I'm making an exception for New England, because if New England is willing to move off of their number 1 pick, or if they were willing to trade you Christian Gonzalez, Demario Douglas, and their 2nd round pick, but if they are at all considering moving off their number 1 pick, I think as the 49ers, you got to pivot. You got to pivot and just say, you know what? Screw what our plan was. Screw our overall, overarching game plan for this year of, we're still going to try to win games, but when somebody offers you an asset that could change things, you react and you respond. The Patriots are bad. They're really, really, really bad. They've got a rookie quarterback. They got Jacoby Brissett as their other quarterback. They've got lousy weapons. They've got, no more Belichick, who really propped up their defense last year. So I think the Patriots are going to finish probably 2 wins, 3 wins. They're going to wind up they could wind up easily with the number 1 pick. And I think they're a lock to wind up with a top 5 pick. So if they're offering their number 1, I'm doing it, man. I'm absolutely doing it. I'm not even thinking about it.
It's when the Bears did business with Carolina They're like,
Yeah.
this team's terrible, so we're going to get, what their pick was, which turned into the number 1 pick in the draft, and Caleb Williams. The 49ers,
incredible trade.
Right.
I mean,
the 49ers,
an incredible move that set themselves up for the Bears. Now might be one of the up and coming teams in the NFL.
The Bears could be that. We'll find out. But the 49ers need to plan for life after Trent, right? The life after Trent's not playing 3 more years. We know that. 1 or 2, maybe. So a top 5 pick means you have the unspoken rights to one of the 3 best offensive linemen coming out of college football. I mean, that's what that really would represent to the Niners. And that the necessity to replace Trent, which you could address in an upcoming draft, would make me consider, like you said, the unthinkable no just all pick trade. But New England would maybe do that. The thing that is overshadowing all of this that I don't think is being discussed enough. You don't think, Larry, that rest is being discussed enough when factoring into game. The thing that's not being discussed enough when looking at the Brandon Aiyuk trade or contract situation, the thing that is overshadowing everything here is Brock Purdy's coming pay raise. Now, I don't know enough and I don't care enough to even bother doing the research about international soccer. Maybe in the land of international soccer where you have, the sons of sheiks cutting checks with oil field money that goes to infinity. So soccer players get paid astronomically. Outside of the possibility of it happening there, we're looking at something with Brock Purdy that has never happened in American sports. There has never been a pay raise that has gone from you don't even make $1 million to you're making $60 million. Brock Purdy is about to have the single greatest raise in the history of North American professional sports. And the 49ers know that. They're planning for it. They're budgeting for it. And because of that, we're in this Brandon Aiyuk situation without a doubt. And they have to. I mean, who has ever gone from I made $1 million this year to now I'm making $60 million other than like Mark Zuckerberg in the year that he invented Facebook? Who gets a raise like that?
Bud Selig.
Anywhere.
I mean, during the steroid era. I mean, nobody. I mean, nobody. Right. I mean, it's just that's why they're in this predicament. I mean, that's why
unprecedented financial event.
Right.
That's what's.
But I mean, there's also the cap goes up every year, so
not like that.
No, but that eases the burden. And this year it went up even more than they thought it would. And so that part of it kind of makes it a little bit easier to compete because the cap's always going up. But you don't know to what level. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a major challenge for the 49ers. And then they're looking at their team. They also have 49ers have a team that is among the deepest in pro football and among the most star-studded. I mean, you've got 9 guys who went to the Pro Bowl, I think, last year. So, and I think between Pro Bowlers and Pro Bowl alternates, they had like 15 or something like that. So you've got a lot of really high-end talent and you have depth. So it's a hard thing. You can't have it all. You can't have the deepest roster and the most star-studded roster, especially in this era of the cap. So they absolutely, I mean, all this talk about, well, they might not be able to afford Debo and may have to choose between Debo and Aiyuk. I think they're looking at their cap going, you know what? We're probably not going to be able to afford a couple, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 big price guys. And what positions do we want to invest in? And they're looking at that wide receiver market and they're going, wide receivers make a ton, yet teams that don't have wide receivers find a way to win, and the market's going out of hand, and yet the supply and demand, the demand is great, but the supply is equally great. So there's all kinds of receivers in the draft every year. So it's like, you know what? I mean, it's like, why you don't have to necessarily get involved in a big money long-term deal with a wide receiver to win a Super Bowl. It's not like, oh man, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have a receiver, but there's so many of them out there and there's so different price points on them that there's more than one way to do it. So you don't have to give in to these receivers. And Green Bay didn't, and Tennessee didn't, and Buffalo didn't, and Kansas City didn't. And, the Niners may or may not. but it's no longer a slam dunk that you just pay these wide receivers. Some teams have looked at it and said, no, we're going to do it a different way. And maybe the Niners feel that way. Maybe the Niners are going to be forced to make that decision because Purdy's going to make $60 million.
So I know we got a short one here today, Larry, because you got another show coming up. Let's talk, since we're talking money, let's put this segment right here, because Joe Pampliano, who covers just the business of sports, Joe Pampliano. Oh, if you're not following him, you got to follow him on Twitter, Larry. You got to, I would say, subscribing to his Substack is about a good $5-6 a month investment as you'll make. He's fantastic. He does the business of sports, some really well-researched, well-connected guy, Joe Pampliano. I highly recommend. So thanks to the fact that the Green Bay Packers have the most unique ownership arrangement in professional sports, and they're owned by the community up in Green Bay, the Packers' financials become a matter of public record. And because no other team operates under the umbrella that the Packers operate under, NFL would basically be able to mask with zero transparency what its books looked like. But because the Packers got to go public, we know some numbers. So it was recently reported that the Packers last season brought in $654.1 million in revenue. More than $500 million is what the Green Bay Packers made. Most of the money came from the NFL's National Revenue Distribution Pool, which was $402 million. In other words, the Green Bay Packers have told us that every single NFL team gets a check for $402 million before the year even starts.
How do you think Jed York was able to pay off the Tom Sula coaches, the Chip Kelly coaches, the Jim Harbaugh coaches? He literally spent $20-30 million paying off failed assistant coaches from past regimes to clear the decks for Shanahan and Lynch. Yeah, I mean, that's how. I mean, that's why do you think Black Monday in the NFL is just this regular? Do you think NFL owners are just the most maniacal, impulsive people of all time? No, they're getting huge sums of money that allow them to erase, any mistake they make coaching wise or general manager wise. You know what? We're not getting it done. You know what? We'll blame our coach. We'll pay him off and we'll go get another coach. And how do we do this all? Well, we've got a gigantic war chest.
Right. You can throw infinity dollars at your coaching problem, at your facility issues. NFL teams are hemorrhaging money. $402 million before a single ticket is sold to a game, before a hot dog, before anyone is parked. The accounting for the remaining, again, the Packers are reporting 654, 402 from the TV deal alone. That is $251.8 million coming in with everything else. Tickets sold, merchandise, bratwursts, blah, 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 blah. But that is staggering cash, man. Staggering cash.
No doubt. It's a sport that is flushed with so much money, and there is no revenue pie of any industry in America that's quite as healthy and as burgeoning as the NFL pie. I mean, it's amazing, really, when you think about how much money the NFL makes and how fast it's going up. It's gone from like a $7 billion industry to like a $40 billion industry in like 10 years.
Well, I remember doing a show. I mean, this is an old show back on, I'm doing KNBR 1050 shows back in the day. And I remember Roger Goodell's stated goal was to have annual average revenue go north of $15 billion. And everyone was like, okay, Roger, dream big, buddy. I mean, look at what they've almost doubled that. They've almost doubled that.
And it's the percentage growth every year that's really the staggering part.
Well, that's
I mean,
the thing.
it's
So
the healthiest industry in the country right now.
The Packers' revenue of $654.1 million is up 7.2% from 2002. 7% growth year over year is astronomical. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And from a business standpoint, that's every business in the country right now, would basically, except for AI, which I guess is like growing exponentially, right? That would be it. They would turn down the 7%. But every other industry in the country would. If you told radio it could make 7% more next year as opposed to it did last year, they'd be guillotining. They would guillotine board ops to guarantee that number. So it's good to be an NFL owner. No wonder why Jed York has a very fancy gazebo in his backyard. Final thing here for you, Larry. Everyone loves a list except us. We really don't do a lot of lists, although we had fun with that ESPN list yesterday. Look at us back in our neutral corners, by the way. It was fun having you here yesterday. I like being able to reach out and touch my Larry Krueger. Top 10 cornerbacks, and we do have a strong argument that Mooney Ward has been slighted here, which makes him now the most disrespected player in football, which that's the kind of mental fuel I like Mooney Ward drinking on his way to a football season. Top 10 cornerbacks ranked by, I don't even know who came up with this list. It really doesn't matter. All lists are stupid. But here we go. Number 1, Patrick Surtain, Denver Broncos. Number 2, Denzel Ward, Cleveland Browns. Number 3, Sauce Gardner of the Jets. L'Jarius Sneed of the Titans. Jalen Ramsey of the Dolphins. Trent McDuffie of the Kansas City Chiefs. Jair Alexander of the Packers. Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears. Devin Witherspoon of the Seattle Seahawks. And Darryl Stingley Jr. of the
Ramsey's too high. Ramsey's way high based on rep.
Jalen Ramsey.
He's not. McDuffie's way better than Ramsey.
This is where Ramsey belonged on a list 2 years ago, right? He's not this player.
Ramsey's
anymore.
a good player. He's a good player. He's just not.
Here's
McDuffie's a premier player.
I don't know who I'm taking off this list definitively to replace him with Mooney Ward, because honestly, everyone on this list is pretty freaking good. Like, not making this list is not the most offensive thing in the world. I would have Mooney Ward at 11 or 12, though. I mean, he can't be far away from this list just based on the production of last year. He was really good.
But also, Brock's not top 10 quarterback-wise on that list either. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's a list.
It's a list.
It's a
Larry,
list.
There's a lot of things in life. You know what this is? It's a list.
It's a list. It's a list. Let's hit the supers here. Invader 49er says, I don't agree with Larry when he says that no Aiyuk would cost the 49ers a Super Bowl appearance. All right. You take out Aiyuk and who, like JJ? You think Jawan Jennings is going to be Aiyuk? I would say no.
Danny Gray. Danny Gray is here to save the day. Finally, Larry. He was a rumor.
Ronnie Bell.
2024.
Blood Moon says James Jones, 49er hater, and Acho, who gives 49er love, have really biased takes. Being ex-players, it's understandable. BA's agent is digging himself a hole.
Well, again, Brandon Aiyuk is feeling desperation if his agent is on phones with guys who have national TV platforms hoping to, sort of massage the conversation a little. So, again, Brandon Aiyuk,
think about this. Think about this logically. I mean, does Brandon Aiyuk want more? Yeah, sure. He wants more. But the 49ers are in a situation where they have a salary for him this year, and it's quite a bit lower. And you're asking them to double his salary just because they're good guys. I mean, you don't get a new salary unless you have leverage, and he doesn't have the leverage. So, and then, it's like then you want them to play ball with you. Okay. So then they play ball with you and they start negotiating. Now they come up with an offer of $28 million. You're asking them to pay you a year ahead of time, or maybe 2 years, or maybe 3 years. They don't have to do it. So there's got to be some bend on Aiyuk's side. And it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of bend coming from his side of the camp. And it's like, guys, your reality is that they can force you to play at 14.1 mil. So you may want to get a little bit more pliable with the offers and a little bit more in the negotiating mode, and not like, hey, it's my way or the highway, because you're not holding all the cards. And yet I think he feels like he is, because he can make himself an island unto himself and be a negative influence in the locker room, and that there's a lot of truth in that. So yeah, if Brandon plans on being totally unprofessional, this could be an uncomfortable year for the Niners. But that's on him. That's on him.
Larry Lucien LaChance the Fourth says, hey, I'm all for the 49ers bringing all black uniforms every year around Halloween. They can introduce an all black helmet. The Gold Rush cheerleaders version of that uniform was fire. I'll say this. I always liked it when the Gold Rush would come out in like Halloween costumes on Halloween. Like everyone likes sexy nurse. So, is that a kitty cat? She's wearing kitty cat ears. It's just kind of cute. I always prefer that for Halloween cheerleading, but yeah, I'm anti all black unis. I've never liked it. I think the look has been done. It's been done. It's been done to death. I'd rather
cheerleaders. Do we need to do our cheerleaders have a use? Should baseball introduce cheerleaders? Should basketball introduce? Our basketball's got cheerleaders. Should baseball introduce cheerleaders? Should the NFL? I mean, to me, the cheerleaders make no impact. No
one cares. No one cares.
I don't know if anybody cares. I'm old. Greg says, I'd rather offer our first and Brandon to the Steelers for TJ Watt. See how badly they want him. Yeah, I don't think they're giving you TJ Watt. That would just be my guess. I don't think TJ Watt's coming to the Niners. That would be don't see it.
I mean, you might as well call the Raiders and see if they're moving Max Crosby.
yeah, exactly.
TJ, what the hell are you talking about?
She says baseball desperately needs cheerleaders. There you go. Baseball maybe they could just go to the press box and get some of the media. Maybe they go to the press box and get some of the media people. You guys got 3 hot dogs in your back pocket. Why don't you just put on the outfit and be a cheerleader?
Any name particularly come to front of your mind there, Larry?
Bobby Cash says, hey, crew, do a doctor voice. I didn't steal your newspaper, Damon. I'm a doctor. Larry, I didn't. I think you might have stole my paper. It was there. I think you maybe walked over and stole my paper. Larry, I did not steal your newspaper. Larry, I'm a doctor.
How is Dr. Raj doing? Dr. Raj good?
Dr. Raj is doing well. He's doing real well.
Excellent.
Doing real well. That's going to do it for us. What do you got cooking the rest of the day?
So again, we got kids going to work day. I'm going to play tag along at the Skyscraper, then heading to Ike's Mission Rock, Larry, to spend a couple hours over there. I've invited an awful lot of the audience to come on out and pop on in. Ike is doing sandwiches all day. I think every sandwich is under $8 at the new location. So pop in. I'll be there from probably like noon to 2:30, 3 o'clock, and just kind of hanging out and shaking hands and kissing babies and eating sandwiches and drinking sodas, and should be a really nice day. So hopefully we'll see everyone coming on out to support Ike. Thanks to him for supporting my channel. People want to know how our business meeting went. It went very, very well. We hope to have some new news for you soon here on Wake Up. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe. And cheers. Have a great weekend. We'll be back at this at 8:45 Monday morning for your next Wake Up. And Larry, next week is the official start of football season. Training camp opens.
Training camp is here. It's time to get out there on the field and really talk some ball with some real football guys.